Time isn't what you think. For most of us, time feels like a straight road. We are born, we live, and we eventually die, walking forward, leaving the past behind, heading toward the unknown. But what if that's not how time actually works? What if, instead of a line, time is a vast field and your future is already planted within it, waiting for you to align with its frequency? Quantum theory suggests that all possibilities already exist. Every potential future of yours is real somewhere in the quantum field. The idea that time is a construct of the human mind isn't just poetic, it's backed by science. Einstein himself noted that the distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion. Yet we continue to live as if we are prisoners of time, dragging our past into every moment and believing our future is a faraway fantasy. The first awakening comes when you realize you've never been separated from the future you desire. You're simply not tuned into it. Imagine tuning a radio. The station you want is out there, broadcasting. But unless your dial is turned precisely to that frequency, you'll hear static, or worse, someone else's channel. Life works the same way. Your dream future is already broadcasting its signal. But most people are too caught up in the noise of regret, self-doubt, or busyness to hear it. This is not about hustling more. It's not about building, grinding, or reaching. It's about receiving. The path to the future you want is not forward, but inward. Until you recalibrate the inner dial, your thoughts, emotions, and beliefs, you'll keep walking the same loop, mistaking movement for transformation. We try to outrun the past, but we're wearing it like perfume. Wherever we go, we take our frequency with us. There's something deeply freeing in this. If your future already exists, then your job is not to create it, but to become it. Feel the weight of that. You're not a beggar at the gates of possibility. You are the gatekeeper. You are the frequency. And the first step is realizing that you've been waiting for something that's already waiting for you. Ask yourself, where in your life are you still chasing something you don't believe you deserve? That question can break 1,000 illusions. We've been conditioned to think in cause and effect. When I get that job, I'll feel confident. When I meet that person, I'll feel worthy. When I have more money, I'll feel secure. But the quantum world doesn't work that way. Cause and effect belong to Newton. In the quantum field, it's about causing an effect. You feel confident now, and the job comes. You feel worthy now, and the right people appear. You feel secure now, and opportunities flow. In essence, your future doesn't begin when conditions change. It begins when you do. This shift requires courage. It demands that we no longer look to the world for evidence, but to ourselves for alignment. That we stop asking, what's happening out there, and start asking, what am I signaling in here? Because the moment you shift from chasing to choosing, from waiting to aligning, time bends, the future moves towards you. Miracles stop being surprises and start becoming side effects. You weren't meant to live on a treadmill of someday. Your power lies not in effort, but in coherence. The harmony of your thoughts, your emotions, and your state of being with the reality you say you want. You can't lie to the field. You can't say, I believe, while your nervous system screams, I doubt. The quantum field responds not to your words, but to your vibration. And that vibration, your state, is the invitation or the repellent. There's no more pretending now. The rules have changed. Reality isn't a picture you look at. It's a mirror that reflects who you are. So look deeply, not at what you wish for, but at who you're being. If you want something different, you must broadcast something different. The version of you who already lives that future. How does that person think, walk, breathe, love? Embody them now, not later. Now. Because now is all you've ever had, and it's the only moment that contains all others. Your frequency shapes your reality. Not your goals, not your intentions, not even your hard work, at least not in the way we've been taught. Everything begins and ends with your state of being. Imagine life as a vast ocean of vibrating possibilities, each outcome a different current. You can't row your way to a different stream with effort alone. You must shift your energy to align with the flow of that new current. That is how quantum reality works. Energy is the language of the universe, and frequency is the syntax. If your dominant emotional vibration is fear, you'll interpret the world through a fearful lens. If you walk through life tuned to resentment, you'll constantly find reasons to resent. But if you calibrate to joy, appreciation, and presence, suddenly everything softens. That's not magic, it's resonance. Resonance is what pulls you towards certain people, places, or events. It's why you meet a stranger and feel an instant connection, or why things keep going wrong when you're stuck in a loop of anxiety. You are always broadcasting a frequency, and the quantum field, like an infinite mirror, reflects that frequency back in the form of circumstances. It's not judging, it's simply responding. The science behind this is subtle but profound. When you think a thought, that thought emits a signal. But it's not just your brain that matters, it's your heart. Studies from institutions like HeartMath show that the heart has its own electromagnetic field, far stronger than the brain's, and it responds to emotion. When you're in a state of coherence, meaning your heart and brain are aligned, you generate a powerful frequency that interacts with the quantum field in a very specific way. But most of us are out of coherence. We say we want abundance while feeling scarcity. We affirm love while radiating insecurity. The result is static, confusion, delay. Not because we're doing it wrong, but because we're not energetically clear. Imagine trying to stream a movie with a weak Wi-Fi signal. Glitches, buffering, distortion. That's what it's like trying to manifest from a state of incoherence. Here's where it gets personal. Look at your life right now. What do you consistently experience? That's your frequency made visible. And before you judge yourself, pause. This isn't about shame. It's about awareness. If you can see your life as a feedback loop, not a punishment, not a test, but a mirror, you unlock the ability to shift it. What emotions are you practicing daily? Are you rehearsing fear, guilt, stress? Or are you rehearsing gratitude, trust, creativity? Just like an actor internalizes a role by rehearsing it again and again, you are embodying a reality through the emotions you dwell in. The future doesn't start when something happens out there. It starts with who you're becoming in here. This is where manifestation gets misunderstood. It's not about sitting in a corner visualizing cars and houses. It's about becoming the person who already lives in the frequency of what they desire. Not because that makes you worthy of it, but because that's the only language the universe understands. You must speak in energy, not words. So, here's a question for your heart. What future would you already be living if you weren't waiting for permission to feel good now? That's the moment of power. Because when you feel good for no reason, when you step into a state of appreciation before the thing arrives, you become the magnet. The quantum field doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you are. That's the difference between chasing and attracting, between dreaming and embodying, between hoping and becoming. And this is not a one-time realization. It's a daily practice. Like tuning an instrument, your energy needs daily attunement. It doesn't mean being perfect. It means being intentional, checking in with your state, noticing when you've slipped into old patterns, and gently, compassionately returning to the vibration that matches the life you actually want. Don't wait for the world to change to feel different. Feel different, and watch the world change in response. The body is a time machine. It remembers who you've been, how you felt, what you feared, and what you've survived. Your nervous system is a vault of emotional memory, and while your conscious mind might forget, your body never does. Every reaction you have, every flinch, hesitation, craving, or shutdown is a learned response encoded from the past. If you want to live into your future, You must teach your body to feel something it's never felt before. This is the paradox. We long for new outcomes, but we stay loyal to familiar emotions. Not out of laziness, but out of safety. The body craves what it knows, even if what it knows is pain, scarcity, or heartbreak. And so, the future we desire feels distant, not because it's far away in time, but because it's out of reach energetically. You can't become someone new while emotionally addicted to who you've been. Neuroscience supports this. Most of our daily thoughts are recycled from the day before. They trigger the same chemicals leading to the same emotions, which reinforce the same behaviors. It's a closed loop, a biological habit of being yourself. That's why positive thinking alone often fails. You can't override the body with the mind alone. You have to engage the body in the change. You must rehearse a new emotional state until it becomes familiar enough to feel safe. This is the art of rewiring. You can't fake coherence. The body knows when you're lying. That's why affirmations sometimes feel hollow, because your nervous system still screams in opposition. But what if, instead of repeating words, you practiced feeling? What if you spent 5 minutes a day rehearsing the sensation of peace, abundance, or worthiness until it became more familiar than stress? Real-life examples are everywhere. The person who walks into a room and radiates calm presence, do you think they got there by accident? More likely, they trained themselves to feel safe in their body, regardless of circumstance. Or the person who breaks generational patterns of poverty or abuse, they didn't just make a plan. They became someone new on a cellular level. Change happens when you are no longer loyal to your history. When you say, "I love where I came from, but I'm not repeating it." When you realize that you don't have to keep reacting the same way to be safe. When your body learns that joy is not a threat, that receiving is not dangerous, that you can rest without guilt. That's embodiment. That's healing. That's quantum time travel. Because when you feel the future in your body now, you collapse the distance between you and it. The field responds, life reorganizes. But the practice isn't just intellectual, it's emotional, somatic, spiritual. You close your eyes and breathe into the version of you who already lives the life you crave. You become intimate with that state. You let it rise in your chest, your hands, your breath. You hold it, you live in it for longer and longer stretches. And then something magical happens. Your body stops resisting. Ask yourself, what emotion is your body most familiar with, and is it aligned with the future you say you want? This question can sting, because many of us are rehearsing anxiety as a way of being. We've practiced self-doubt for so long it feels like truth. But it's not truth. It's repetition. The good news is, what was learned can be unlearned. What was conditioned can be rewired. But it requires presence and patience and practice. Start small. Start with the breath. Breathe as someone who feels safe. Walk as someone who feels chosen. Speak as someone who is enough. Don't fake it. Train it. Let your nervous system acclimate to joy, confidence, and abundance like a new climate. You're not forcing change, you're becoming hospitable to it. The body will fight. It will pull you back into survival, into doubt, into the old self. Not because you're broken, but because it hasn't caught up with the memo yet. Be patient. Teach it again. Every time you respond differently, every time you feel your future before it arrives, you are quantum leaping. Not with effort, but with embodiment. The future does not belong to the mind alone. It belongs to the body that dares to feel something new. Collapse the distance between you and it. That's the real secret to creating what you desire. Not by waiting, but by embodying. Most of us live with a silent contract. Once it shows up, I'll believe in it. But the quantum field doesn't honor contracts built on doubt. It moves in response to certainty, to wholeness, to the state of already having become. We've been taught to believe that reality is something we bump into. But in truth, reality is something we radiate. Your outer world is not a result, it's a response. This is why acting as if isn't a performance, it's a declaration. It's not pretending, it's embodying. When you walk, speak, feel, and choose from the identity of the future version of yourself, you pull that timeline toward you. You collapse the energetic gap. That's quantum flow. Every desire holds a frequency. If you want love, become love. If you seek abundance, embody generosity. If you desire peace, move through life with grace. Not because you're earning the future, but because you are becoming resonant with it. And that resonance is what causes the effect. You don't wait to become, you become to receive. But embodiment is not about faking it until you make it. It's about being honest with what still doesn't feel natural and gently practicing until it does. That's the difference between force and flow. Force tries to push reality into shape. Flow harmonizes with it. And the more you practice this internal congruence, when your thoughts, emotions, and actions align, the more reality begins to bend. Let me tell you a story. A woman once came to a workshop feeling stuck. She had done the visualizations, written the affirmations, even quit her job to follow her passion, but nothing shifted. The breakthrough came when she realized she still identified as someone who wasn't there yet. Her inner language, her thoughts, posture, tone, was still wrapped in waiting. When she let go of the someday and began to act, walk, and breathe as someone who had already arrived, everything shifted, not slowly, instantly. That's not a fluke, it's coherence. When your inner state matches your outer desire, the universe responds not with resistance, but with reflection. The delay isn't punishment, it's feedback. It's saying, get in tune. Not hustle harder, not force more, tune deeper. So how do you close the gap? You begin each day as a rehearsal of your future self. Not the self who's chasing, but the self who's living. What would they do this morning? What would they wear? How would they respond to that email? How would they handle disappointment? You stop living from memory and start living from imagination. That's the pivot. That's the portal. And here's the paradox. When you live as if it's already yours, you stop needing it to come. You stop grasping. You no longer emit the frequency of lack. You begin to embody wholeness. And wholeness is magnetic. The moment you stop asking, when will it come, and start saying, it's already mine, you send out a signal of certainty. And the field loves certainty, because certainty is clarity, and clarity collapses time. Ask yourself, where in your life are you waiting to feel worthy before you act like you already are? That question can redirect your path. Because embodiment doesn't wait for permission. It creates its own evidence. It says, I'll feel the joy before the results. I'll trust the unfolding even when the picture isn't complete. I'll move as if I've arrived, even if the world hasn't caught up yet. That's not delusion, that's leadership. That's spiritual maturity. You are not here to chase timelines. You're here to collapse them. To merge with the version of you who already lives the life your soul remembers. To be less impressed by delay and more committed to alignment. To stop praying for signs and start becoming the sign. This is the moment to stop hoping and start holding. To stop reaching and start radiating. Because the more you embody the end, the faster it becomes the beginning. Live as the signal, not the seeker. This is the final pivot, the shift from hoping to knowing, from manifesting to magnetizing, from asking to becoming. When you embody the energy of your future self now, you stop sending out the frequency of wanting and start transmitting the frequency of already having. And that shift changes everything. Most people live in a state of waiting. Waiting for a breakthrough. Waiting for the right person, the right call, the right moment. But waiting is a state of lack. And lack never attracts abundance. It only perpetuates more waiting. The quantum field doesn't respond to your longing. It responds to your signal. And the signal that creates the life you want isn't, I need, but I am. When you realize this, something unlocks. You stop needing signs to prove you're on the right path. You become the sign. You walk through the world like someone who knows, Not because you're pretending, but because you've made the inner shift. You've chosen to tune your being to the vibration of your future. And so the future begins to shape itself around you, not because you chased it, but because you matched it. People often ask, how do I stay in alignment when things around me aren't changing yet? And the answer is both simple and profound. Don't look to the outside world for evidence. Look to your inner world for coherence. If the signal you're sending is clear, consistent, and grounded in gratitude, trust the field. Trust the delay. It's not denial, it's calibration. We forget that oak trees don't sprout in an hour. They root deeply, silently, before anything breaks the surface. And so do your manifestations. If it looks like nothing is happening, maybe everything is happening beneath. Maybe the field is arranging, aligning, harmonizing, waiting for you to fully become the signal before delivering the result. This is where mastery begins. In the unseen, in the stillness, in the days when nothing seems to move. You hold the frequency anyway. You show up as her. You walk like him. You speak as that version of yourself who no longer asks, when will it happen, but whispers, of course it's done. Ask yourself, who would you be without the belief that you need more before you begin? That question cuts straight through illusion. Because needing more is often a disguise for not believing you're already enough. But the quantum field doesn't wait for you to be perfect. It waits for you to be honest, to show up with your whole heart, to feel the feeling now. That's the offering. That's the alignment. Living as the signal means you hold joy even on hard days. Not because you're bypassing pain, but because you've trained your nervous system to recognize beauty anyway. It means you treat strangers with kindness, not for karma points, but because that's who your future self already is. It means you speak as someone who believes in their voice, even if no one's listening yet. It's not about performance, it's about frequency. And the more you live from the signal, the less you chase, the less you grasp, the less you fear. Because you're no longer trying to make it happen, you're letting it arrive through you. That's alignment, that's surrender, that's power. People will notice, they'll feel the calm in your presence, the clarity in your choices, the grace in your path, not because you've become someone else, but because you've finally become yourself. The truest you. The you that's been waiting, not in the future, but inside you all along. And when that shift happens, when you stop being the seeker and start being the signal, life becomes responsive. Doors open, synchronicities appear, paths clear. Not because the world changed, but because you did. You tuned in, you lit up, you broadcasted a reality so clearly that the universe had no choice but to echo it. So live as the signal, not the seeker. Be the answer to your own prayer. Radiate like it's already yours. Because in the quantum realm, the end and the beginning are the same breath, and you get to decide which one you're exhaling now. This is not just a theory. It's an invitation to step out of the loops that have kept you chasing, to silence the static of doubt and turn the dial inward. You've traveled through time not by clock, but by consciousness, and now you stand at a threshold, not of doing more, but of being differently. Not tomorrow, now. The truth is you were never waiting for the future. The future was always waiting for you, to remember, to receive, to rise. And all along, it wasn't about achieving a life outside of yourself. It was about becoming the version of you who always had access to it. So breathe it in. Let it settle into your bones. You are the field. You are the frequency. You are the unfolding. If this resonated with your journey, I invite you to share what opened your heart or shifted your vision in the comments. And if you're ready to live from your future, not toward it, subscribe, reflect, and return to this space often. Because the signal is always there, and now, so are you.